Money on my mind, gotta hustle and grind. Financial literacy always on my mind. I'm stacking knowledge, no time to waste. Gotta invest smart, gotta keep up the pace. I'm reading books, learning all the tricks, studying the market, making calculated picks.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Reckless Ray Dinero, and we are back at it again for another episode. And what we are talking about today, this is part 3, the final episode, where we line out. Actually, let me pull up my little sheet because I keep everything on my Google Sheets. We're going to talk about my goals for 2025 targets from the financial perspective. Before we do that, have you liked the video? I need likes on my videos. Like my videos. Talk to me down in the comments. I do reply to all my comments. Let's build together. Give me your insights. I'm not necessarily saying I'm the smartest guy in the room. I'm a working class stiff just like the rest of you, doing some different stuff with my money that the rest of you may or may not be doing. But I'm trying to leave the breadcrumbs so that we can all get to the same goal together, which is getting rich, wealthy, financially independent, out of the rat race, what have you, breaking free from the financial matrix that we've been dumped into. And in order to do that, I need you to like the video. I also need you to subscribe. And I also need you to share this video because you should care that other people, you should care that other people are stuck in the same matrix that you're stuck in. So, yeah, let's do all those things. Let's jump into it. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about my goals for my finances for 2025. Now, on that, we have to talk about my key performance indicators, my KPI. For me, the trackers that I use are my net worth. I'm really dialed in on that. My income, really dialed in on that. And my debt. And the amount that I am saving. And by saving, I mean investing, because I don't save in a bank account. I don't have a really fat bank account that's impressive where I can be like, look at my bank account. I got like $40,000 sitting in there because I'm getting ready to buy something that's $40,000 and it's YouTube. So you guys don't know the difference. So you think I'm just sitting around with $40,000 in the bank all the time. No, I don't keep money in my bank account like that at all, ever, period. All my money is working at all times as hard as possible. So normally there's next to nothing in there. There might be, depending on, like, my in-home banking pool normally has a few $100s in there because I'm constantly paying that back. Outside of that, well, actually, that's one of my goals for 2025 to show you how little I keep in there. My goal is to get all my accounts to $150. I've been working on it real hard, real hard. And that's going to be the minimum for the accounts, is just leaving $150 in each bank account that I have that just sits in there, just in case I need to scramble to make something happen. If in the event that I ever almost overdraw, normally it's never to the tune of over $150. My math is not that bad. So that's a good metrics for me. My goal for 2025 is to get all the accounts to $150. That's how little I keep in the bank and how little I value stagnant money like that. Like it's repulsive to me, and I don't think I'll ever raise it again because I don't ever have a mess up that's over $150. But yeah, so there's that. I like to know my percentage of how much I'm saving, and in most cases I am at 40% or above. Now, you can listen to what the gurus say in regards to how awesome that is in comparison to what the average American is doing, considering most of you guys can't scrape together $1,500 in the event of an emergency, which is crazy to me. But, y'all live in how you live, and apparently I'm the dusty one. So that's cool. But I try to keep it at 40. The peak that I've hit so far is 60. We had a month where I actually hit 60%. I was very impressed with myself. But that's what we're looking at. Those are the things that let me know if I'm moving in the right direction. If the cash flow is steadily increasing month over month, year over year, not even month over month, that's too small of a window, but year over year, yes, I am looking at that metric. I'm like, what am I doing different this year than last year? How are we doing? Or if there's an extreme dip within a specific month, I want to know why the cash flow is low. Net worth, obviously the same thing. My net worth is very volatile, so that does change month to month because of the overexposure to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. But I'm here for it. I can compare it to that same month last year because I've been doing this for years. So I have a lot of data that I can reference. I can look at last year's data. I can look at last bull run's data. I can look at, I think the bull run. No, I think last bull run would be the start of when I was tracking this. But I have multiple areas where if something is going weird within a specific month, I can look at years prior and gauge whether that is on trend, something that's normal, or if I have done something wrong or if I'm not investing the way that I'm supposed to. As far as the cash flow goes, directing the cash flow, how is it flowing? What are we looking at doing with that is very important, because if you don't know where your cash flow is going, then you're probably in for a world of hurt, because you're probably bleeding and or hemorrhaging money or just digging yourself into infinite debt. Also not cool. Another key performance and another indicator that I look at is my portfolios, like the overall value, like if they're growing. Now, my income portfolio, which is the larger of the two portfolios, I don't worry about the growth on that so much, because again, that is supposed to print money. It is growing very well. We'll be doing an update on portfolio updates at the beginning of next month. And we're going to have some really interesting stuff to report on that, because we are smashing the S&P 500 all over the board. Like, my portfolios are doing very well, which is unfortunate because my long-term holdings, I'm not getting stuff in there as fast as I would like, because stuff is just running up on me. So we're in scramble mode. Getting to those 10 shares of MicroStrategy is going to be a little bit more of an uphill battle than I thought. After that, we're looking at a position in Palantir. We're also looking at, I've still got to re-add my NVIDIA position. So we've got a lot of stuff going on, but the stuff that we have coming in, I'm excited about. I'm happy with what I've got. I'm definitely, even though it's going to take a little bit longer and be a little bit slower of an uphill climb, excited about what I have. And yeah, so we're gonna be diving into that. Now, when we get to the goals, like, what are my goals? What are the goals? What are we looking at doing? Well, we'll probably be having this on the cumulative financial update for next month. When we do the numbers from this month, I'm sure I'm going to have hit my net worth goal with Bitcoin and crypto where it's at right now. I have blown through my goal for my net worth, but we're looking at increasing our net worth to 325, and I'm actually going to round that up. I'm changing it right now on the fly. You can see me here working. I'm changing this on the fly to 350. Like, I just really feel that I am undershooting this, and I feel at this juncture that 350 is also undershooting, and we will hit it really soon after Bitcoin hits $100,000. I really think once Bitcoin hits 100K, honestly, they're putting out numbers of Bitcoin maxing out at numbers that are around that. So I think we could touch the $500,000 mark on the way to a millionaire. Would be 50% of the way there. We'll see. Obviously, Bitcoin being volatile, so it may fluctuate and crash back down. So end of the year, we might not be sitting at the same net worth that we're going to be at beginning or middle of the year. Just as what it is, we might be going into 2026 with a different number, it'll be a number that's higher. So I'm really more concerned about the stable number. But if we get to end the year at 50% of the goal, that would be awesome too. Income goals. Now, we have broken the $1,500 marker for income in our portfolio. I do have a goal of getting that in the ballpark to where like that's the minimum. And I know I said I was going to start beating my chest and we were going to have like a bunch of conversations about it, but it's month to month. It's not consistent. So I'm interested to see what this month's payout is going to be from the dividend portfolio. And the months following. Like if this month is what I think it could be, then I'm going to have some more clarity moving forward on into 2025 as this Bitcoin bull run runs its course and these prices keep surging on MicroStrategy. We're going to be bringing Coney back into the fold now that it'll have been over 30 days starting at the beginning of the month. We will be loading the boat on our week 1 positions because I want to get that payout. And I want it. I want my money, and we're gonna be really working at that to start getting those positions in. Because I've got my Nvidia position back. We've got that going. We're gonna be doing. We started the fiat position, which is preparing for the end of the bull run. Some of our hedge positions, and we're just gonna keep slowly adding to those hedge positions. I'm gonna have a whole hedge portfolio. It's gonna be great. That's within the income portfolio, just catching all the dips, all the pullbacks, all the retracements. I want to get paid on both ends. Now, the goal for the income for the month, for the year of 2025, year of our Lord, I'm looking at and targeting $5,000. Now, if we hit that goal, that will be 100% of the initial goal that I put out for me being able to be in a position where we're work optional. And that's going to be a big goal, but we are loading the boat up. We're putting all of the money that we can and voraciously filling and bulking up that income portfolio. Also, we have a little bit of a strategy that we're going to be using for the first 3 months of the year where we're going to be dripping everything in the income portfolio, preparing for tax season. And while we're doing that, that's going to increase those incomes. Now, the goal is whatever I owe on taxes, I'm hoping to be able to pay without having to sell off any of those assets. We're going to use the income, the boosted income, to facilitate repaying the tax bill for this year, 2024. That's my strategy on that, is just to bolster and really bulk up my my portfolio, and then the increased income that'll be coming out during that time period should pay whatever I owe in taxes. We're also going to be making some adjustments to the pay and what we're doing as far as our tax shelters. We're going to be doing some math, looking to see what tax brackets we're going to be in and moving forward, because the projections that I have out is I'm going to be getting a 50% raise in income, not necessarily from my job, but from the dividends from me going out and hunting. And if we're going to be sitting at a 50% increase in my income, that's going to be a tax liability / burden. So I want to go ahead and get in front of that as well. Also, it depends on what the dividends are labeled as, because it looks like we're just getting them as cash dividends, which I'm pretty sure just goes into the income bucket. Some of it might be return of capital, which would be more beneficial from a tax perspective. That would be nice. But we're going to have to see how that washes out, because this is going to be my first year messing with it. So this is also going to be the first year that I have to wait for all the dust to settle to get all my paperwork from all my exchanges, the stuff that I'm using. and obviously Charles Schwab, so that I can submit all my tax stuff together to see if I do owe money, and if I do, to figure out the most efficient way to pay it back. But with the income that we have kicking out, I'm and what I made in the year of 2024, because this year it should be around $10,000. So I'm thinking that there's going to be an additional $10,000 tax burden on there. If we hit a couple of numbers within crypto, I might have a little bit of crypto, because the stuff that we put in the housing, I've got my sell orders in the market now, so that we can start moving some of that money over into the income portfolio. So see, this is another thing. We got some money that we saved up in Bitcoin that we were going to cash out to do some housing repair. And while I am holding myself to cashing it out, what I'm planning on doing is moving that over to the income portfolio and having that income come back out of the income portfolio. So if we get to, say, $5,000, it'll be, we'll be able to, as those repairs get done, I won't have to worry about what to do with the change if the repairs come in under what the pool of money is. Also, I'm not completely losing an asset. I'm transferring it over to something that I'm also using to repurchase that asset position in Bitcoin, because all of the dividend payouts we're using and we're attacking the debt first. So I'll probably be holding off on these repairs until these big debt burdens are paid down. So we have the operation debt, which we'll be getting an update on. Obviously, it was at $28,000. That's kind of where the starting point for us was. And we're going to actively be looking at eliminating those pools of debt as quickly and expeditiously as possible. And then, throughout that deal, as we're getting these quotes in, we'll look and see what a little bit of these repairs are going to cost and be able to pull that out of the dividend pool as well. But those sell orders haven't been triggered yet. I've got one that's within 30 days, one that's within 90 days. And as we hit those metrics, that's when that money's going to start coming out. And again, I said we were going to be dollar cost averaging. So with that, we're dollar cost averaging out. I'm not dumping the entire position and bringing back all the money that we've accumulated and what it's grown to. We are taking bits and pieces at certain points, and then we'll log it against what we've got, what we've put in there, and pull it out that way. We're not rushing things, because as stuff runs up, you can get more benefit out of the Bitcoin bull run than just going, oh, it went up 50%. I'm going to take all my money now. I'm banking on Bitcoin continually going up this year. We're not anywhere near what the peak is. So I'm just going to take a little bit at a time. We have we have over $6,000 in that portfolio. Actually, hold on. Let's look. Let's see what it actually is now. Oh, I already have it pulled up. Okay, let me get over to the appropriate screen. And then let's see here. Home savings. Let's see here. Where are we at? Yeah, we're sitting at $77,690. Now, our goal was to have about, I think we were trying to save up $6,000. So we have completely surpassed that goal. The gain on that is 128.2%, which is awesome. And yeah, so we're sitting pretty with this portfolio. So me pulling out $1,000 here, $1,000, $1,200, $1,300, which is what I have for the sell orders. I got one for $1,200 for when we hit 92. I've got one for $1,300 when we hit 100,000, and then the next metric is probably going to be 120. I'll pull another one out, but as we're pulling out, it's running up. So I'm just going to keep rocking it, because I said I was going to start doing it at 80. Instead, I opted for 90 because 80 came and went. and I'm liking the run that we're having right now. So that's what we'll be doing with that, obviously going into housing repairs, and then we'll be moving that over into the income portfolio, and I will just be earmarking what we've put in, like the positions that we bought and where we bought them at, because at that point I am going to have to start separating that out because they're commingled funds. But I'm going to keep track of how many shares I purchased, because eventually those shares themselves will go into a portfolio that is literally going to be utilized to target my mortgage principal specifically. Like, that's going to be an extra kicker, and we'll use it for mortgage principal. And if we don't have anything to repair or buy, or we're not doing maintenance, I will be using that to then focus in on attacking the principal, because the core of this portfolio, the core of the income portfolio, covering the mortgage payments is part of that core. But I want to take this money, and now that I'm getting more comfortable with the high yield dividends, that space, I want to have a portfolio that's specific for targeting principal, because that's what's going to get my stuff paid off super fast. So as we're building that up, that portfolio will then get hashed out, and then we'll just be having a separate portfolio that when that portfolio pays out, that portfolio payment gets pulled out of there and goes straight towards mortgage principal. And we're just going to keep rocking it out like that. We'll still have the Bitcoin standard and probably some reinvestment standard that we'll have going into that. But all in all, we're going to be very strategic with these income portfolios. And I mean, eventually at a certain point, we could get to one where we have one that's for car payment, car maintenance, car purchase, because obviously you don't have maintenance every month. So if you don't have an oil change coming up, you don't need any of that money. And you can just let it build and build and build and build. And then when it's time to utilize it, we're going to be doing the same thing for our medical bills. We're going to have one that's specific to medical. And as we keep building these portfolios up, it's like, hey, if you don't have an expense, you just keep letting it drip it. Let it keep accumulating. Let it keep building itself up. And then when you need it, you turn the drip off. You're like, cool, we're taking the check this month. I got a medical bill to pay. It's about moving with intention. These tools can be used for so many things. Obviously, we're going to always be indefinitely buying Bitcoin. We'll also probably be getting to a point starting next year where I'm going to allocate some funds towards going back in to get some more altcoin positions set, because it isn't even started being altcoin season yet. So we have those positions as well. But the way that we cycle that cash flow is going to be paramount. We're also going to have a holdings list that'll be coming up in crypto portfolio updates for the long-term portfolio. Right now, we're just buying MicroStrategy and DeFi Technologies. I've got some target metrics to hit on DeFi Technologies, but I also have a few other long-term holdings that will be going into the portfolio, and we're going to expound and talk about that. That aside, I mean, those are my key performance metrics. Those are the things that I'm tracking. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for that $325,000 goal, which I think is too low. So that's going to be a $325,000. But I mean, I really think that this bull run could end up putting us in the realm of $500,000. Like, I really do. And I think when the dust settles, we'll drop back down. And I think that the 325 will be the stable goal, because as the cryptocurrency market goes up, remember, at the end of every other bull run, historically speaking, every other bull run that I've been in, there's a blow off top and then there's a crash in the market. I don't know what that's going to look like now that we have all this institutional money, because generally speaking, those crashes are retail dumping coins. And I could still see it happening within the altcoin market, but within Bitcoin and Ethereum, those have ETFs tied to it. So those aren't going to be as dumpy as what we're looking at. I mean, when we look at the run that we're in right now, getting up to 90K, you look at the buy orders on that, that is blatantly institutional purchases. The purchase amounts are too high. That's not even retail. So retail hasn't even put their money into the market yet. I think they'll start FOMOing after it gets to 100K and they already feel like they've been left behind because they didn't want to buy at 50. They didn't want to buy at 60. At 60 to 70, people were talking about they're waiting for it to go back to 30. It's not going back to 30. Like you've missed that. Ship has sailed. You should have bought when it was at 30. But when it was at 30, you were probably waiting for it to go back to 10, and it never went back to 10. There are people still waiting for it to go back to 10. It's never going back. It's also never going back to 30. So as these people FOMO in, then we're going to have a different level of blow off top. Also, the wealthy are buying up everything. So you're going to be left behind. You're going to be left out. And then we're going to be having the conversation over equity and inclusion. And why don't we own anything when you were saying that you wanted to wait until it was going back to 30? A lot of my crypto or a lot of my traditional portfolio picks for my long-term holdings are also going to be tied to Bitcoin because my thesis is Bitcoin is going to $1 million. I do believe that. I think it's going to go past $1 million personally, but I believe it's going to $1 million. So all the things that I'm investing in that are going to be tied to that, I'm like, well, when that goes to $1 million, this is going to be a ridiculous price. That's going to be a really good, ridiculous price. So a lot of my portfolio is going to be very much crypto inspired and related. And it's going to be so much to the tune that I might actually go past 10 holdings so that I can get some stuff that's not crypto related in there just for the balancing act of it all. But that aside, that's the way that I'm looking at things. Those are my goals. And I am looking at getting my initial goals are going to be the 10 shares of MicroStrategy. I have 5 more shares to acquire. I've already started on my 2025 goals, by the way. We're going to be looking at getting probably 10 to 20 shares of Palantir. I'm actually probably going to go for 20 shares of Palantir because that is less expensive. I'm looking at Coin. We're looking at 10 shares of that. DeFi Technologies, I do want to get as close to, or if not 1,000 shares as possible at around $2, depending on how much it runs up. I'm already over 500, but I do want to get some additional shares of Palantir or of DeFi Technologies. I do want that 1,000 shares. And then what I think those are going to be, because those are pretty lofty goals, actually. That's a grip of money for money not going into the income portfolio. So we'll see how that works out because I am using the income portfolio to purchase some of those shares. I'm taxing myself. Forced savings, if you would, out of the dividend income. So there is that. The other thing that we're looking at is I am looking at, as far as the cash flow goes, I do want to get to a space which requires that $28,000 in debt to be cleared to where I can run my experiment of running my cash flow from my W-2 directly into my dividend portfolio and dispersing it fully into that portfolio and then using the dividends out of that portfolio to handle everything just to see if it works. I want to get to the, that's another 2025 goal. I want to get to that space after we get the debt cleared up and under control. Like once my dividend kick out after all the dust settles is covering all of the whatever debt I've accumulated that month plus my core expenses, I'd like to just have it to where all of my income goes in there and then whatever comes out is what I have to manage my existence. And then, I'd like to get, because I'm targeting 36 months, and the sooner I can get over into that space, the sooner I can, get the cup of the income portfolio to runneth over so that I can utilize it in the way that I want, because I don't just want to be living hand to mouth out of my dividend portfolio. I'm not going to expend all of the money in the dividend portfolio. And part of the strategy is living out of country part of the time so that I am producing so much of an excess that the portfolio is self-sustaining. But I'd like to just go so far over what I'm even looking at needing that the portfolio is just self-sustaining anyway. And then that time that I'm out of the country, it's just bonus. So those are my goals for 2025. I think a lot of them are pretty lofty, with the exception of the net worth goal. I think I undershot that. If there's one goal that I'm like, I undershot it, and, you know, aiming for 325 and then upping it to 350, I really think that that also is an undershooting for what's going to happen. But I've got a good bearing that on the trajectory that I'm on, that's going to get me in the realm. Like, that's a good target, because even if I blow past it, it's not that I'm going to stop doing anything that I'm doing. But I also like to set goals and shoot for the moon and then land amongst the stars. So I don't really like it when I undershoot a goal. But that one is the least important. The goals for the cash flow, the way that we're trying to redirect our cash flow and get in control of our cash flow, are the ones that are, in my opinion, are make or break for my financial life. Like, as far as getting out of the matrix, those are the make or break ones. Making sure the income's increasing, getting these positions set for my long-term holding portfolio, and like making sure that I'm producing as much income as possible so I can buy more Bitcoin, because the more income I produce, the more Bitcoin I get to purchase. So that's where I'm sitting with it. Those are the final thoughts. That's what we're doing for 2025. Tap in with me down in the comments. What are your financial goals? More importantly, what are your key performance indicators? What are your KPIs? Are they the same as mine? Because starting out, actually, I want to throw this on to the end of here with the KPIs. My KPIs are specific to my situation. Now, when I first started down my financial road and I was worth $- when I did the tally up to see what my net worth was, and I realized that I was worth more not in existence than I was existing at that point in time, and I didn't feel good about it, my KPIs were totally different. It was get my net worth to zero. Eliminate debt. I was really involved in paying off and figuring out debt. I was also very involved during that time period of getting my credit score, like keeping that maintained, because I had a good credit score. I was just nosebleed deep in debt. Like, I gamed the system right, but it was also like, hey, I've got to go in here and get this stuff that's not supposed to be on my credit report off my credit report. So I had to do all that stuff. I also was like, one of my KPIs was, can I get my bank account to be stable at $50? Because it used to just be at zero and I was bouncing checks. I was overdrawing on my debit card. Like, it was not good. So the KPIs are different based on where you're at, but you have to start tracking something or everything's going to continue to be in chaos. You have to get a handle on the situation. So what are your KPIs going to be for where you're at? Are you going to adopt some of mine, or do you, for where you're at, do you have different ones? Let me know down in the comments. We'll be seeing you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the channel and supporting the platform. Hit the like button. If you're new here, join the Wolf Pack by hitting that subscribe button and hitting the bell and turning all notifications on. I do not flood your feed, I promise. And we don't want to get rich over here by ourselves. Also, share this if you've got some friends that might be in the same situation, because when you share these types of videos, it spurs some conversation. I'm just letting you know. You might have some friends that are on the same time that you're on that want to go to the same place that you're going, and you guys can do that together. And when you share content of stuff that you're actually interested in, besides like funny cat videos or people twerking or people arguing and getting into fights and having shootouts at McDonald's where you shouldn't even be eating anyway because it's poison. When you start sharing these things, it starts letting people know. It'll change your circle of friends, because the people who are into this type of content and into this type of growth and into financial growth will start gravitating towards you. And you guys can start actually having people in your real life that you talk about money with, so that it's not that you don't have to come here. You guys can watch the content and break down what you guys thought about it. Start making some challenges together. You have some people that you're working with together. Something to think on. But share the video. This is your boy, Reckless Rated Arrow. And until next week, we are out. Peace.
Money on my mind. Yeah. Focus, got no time for games. Nah. I don't play it, I'm all about that financial literacy. Investing in my future, building generational wealth. Dollar bills, they be calling my name, but I ain't chasing fame, I'm chasing change. Learn the game, now I'm playing it smart. Putting my money to work, it's an art. I'm stacking paper, building my own empire. No more living check to check, I'm getting higher. Investing in stocks, real estate, and more. Gotta secure the bag, that's what I came for.